Welcome to the HFY Tales channel. Remember to like and subscribe if you like the story. Enjoy and take care.
Daniel sat in his small, cluttered backyard, staring at the ground with a mix of boredom and anticipation. It was just another Saturday, the sun shining brightly overhead as he fiddled with his metal detector, an old model he had found at a garage sale years ago. His dreams of discovering treasures buried deep in the ground had never quite materialized, but the prospect of unearthing something extraordinary kept his passion alive. As he swept the detector back and forth, it emitted a series of beeps. At first, it was a familiar sound, a faint hint of aluminum or iron, but then it became more insistent, a rapid-fire series of signals that piqued his curiosity. He leaned forward, eyes wide, heart racing. This was different. "Come on, be something good," he muttered to himself, his voice almost drowned out by the chirping of birds. He hurriedly cleared away the loose soil with his hands, excitement surging through him as he uncovered a metal object. It was a capsule, smooth and sleek, glimmering in the sunlight. The surface was unlike any material he had seen before, almost liquid-like in its sheen, with swirling patterns that shifted as he gazed at it. Daniel's pulse quickened. In that moment, he felt like a true adventurer, on the brink of discovering something monumental. He grabbed a small spade from the shed and began to dig around the capsule, his mind racing with possibilities. Was it a hidden relic, priceless treasure, or something more? With one final effort, he pried the capsule from the earth and set it on the grass beside him. It was about the size of a football, and despite its foreign look, there was something alluring about it. He brushed off the dirt, revealing the intricate designs etched across its surface, almost mesmerizing in their complexity. As he contemplated his next move, the ground beneath the capsule shook ever so slightly. Daniel took a step back, heart pounding in his chest, eyes fixed on the object. Suddenly, with a soft hiss, the capsule began to open, a brilliant light spilling from within as it split apart like a blooming flower. Daniel shielded his eyes, squinting through the brilliance. The light faded, revealing a figure nestled inside the capsule, an alien girl. She appeared to be unconscious, her skin shimmering with a faint glow that hinted at otherworldly beauty. Long, flowing hair cascaded around her shoulders, and she wore garments that looked both ethereal and armor-like. He hesitated, a mix of fear and fascination battling inside him. Should he approach? Was she dangerous? But as his gaze lingered on her, he felt an inexplicable urge to help, overriding his apprehension. Taking a deep breath, he knelt beside her, trying to reach out. "Hey, are you okay?" he asked, his voice shaky, barely above a whisper. Without warning, the girl jolted awake, her bright eyes wide and panicked. She moved away instinctively, attempting to comprehend her surroundings. Her gaze locked onto Daniel, filled with uncertainty. An ethereal sound escaped her lips, a mix of musical tones and strange whispers, but it made no sense to him. Daniel's heart raced as their eyes met. He tried to reassure her. "It's okay. I'm not going to hurt you." But she was speaking a language he couldn't understand, her fear palpable. He sensed the alien nature of her being, the way her features were both familiar and completely foreign. He felt a strange connection, as if this moment was significant, like fate had brought them together in this peculiar way. As she remained tense and confused, Daniel reached out a tentative hand, his heart pounding as he introduced himself. "My name is Daniel. What's your name?" The alien girl stared at him, her gaze piercing, swirling colors of emotion in her expression. She opened her mouth, trying to communicate, but the words failed her, resulting in only a series of soft, melodic tones. In that surreal moment, Daniel was struck with a realization. He had unearthed more than just an alien being. He had discovered a mystery that would forever change his life. Daniel's heart raced as he knelt next to the alien girl. He could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on him, uncertainty gnawing at the edges of his curiosity. Zara. He thought of her as Zara, a name that felt right. Continued to look at him as though he was both an enigma and a threat. Slowly, she took a deep breath, and her tension seemed to ease just a fraction. Daniel chose that moment to stand up, stepping away a bit to give her space. He gestured around, trying to convey that she was safe here in his backyard. "Do you understand me?" he asked gently, watching for any sign of recognition in her shimmering eyes. There was a flicker, a spark of comprehension as she tilted her head slightly, her alien features reflecting a mix of caution, curiosity, and awe. After a moment, she placed a hand on the ground, and a faint, blue glow emanated from her palm, illuminating the grass beneath. The light pulsed rhythmically, swaying as if it had a life of its own. Daniel realized it was not merely a passive phenomenon. It seemed to resonate with her emotions. He stepped closer again, captivated. "What are you?" he asked, his voice barely louder than a whisper. Zara focused on him, her luminous skin subtly shifting in color, mirroring her feelings. Then, she began to gesture with her hands, forming shapes that made no sense at first. Daniel watched intently, trying to piece together her intentions. Finally, she pointed toward her capsule and pressed her palm against its surface. It glowed brighter for a moment before projecting shimmering images into the air around them, landscapes of her home planet, a place that was both beautiful and alien. Cities of towering structures, lush green fields glowing under vibrant suns, and creatures that danced in sync. Realization washed over Daniel. This girl was not only an alien. She was a visitor from another world, someone who experienced life in ways he could hardly imagine. "You're home. It's incredible," he murmured to her. He motioned to the images, clearly fascinated. But then, his brow furrowed as he thought of the implications. Had she come here to escape something? Zara's expression darkened for a brief moment, and she responded in her melodic language, a mix of sadness in her tone. It was clear she had left something behind. A life, people, maybe even danger. Daniel, feeling a sense of empathy, took a step closer and attempted to take her hand. She hesitated, but then, as if sensing his genuine intent, she allowed him to reach her. His fingers brushed against her cool skin, and a spark of warmth shot through him, a connection transcending their differences. In an instant, vivid images flooded through his mind, fragments of her life, her friends and family, her society. He winced at the sheer intensity of the emotions. There was joy, sorrow, and a desperate longing to return home. "What happened?" Daniel asked, realizing he had inadvertently tapped into her feelings. It took him a moment to process the intimacy of their connection. Zara closed her eyes, focusing on their link, and her face twisted with anguish. She pointed toward the sky, her voice filled with determination, and the images shifted, now depicting a dark shadow looming over her planet, a threat that had forced her to flee. He understood now. She was in trouble, and whatever pursuers she had escaped would likely follow her here. The reality of her situation began to sink in. She was not just an innocent bystander, but a girl fleeing from danger. And here he was, a mere human in a suburban backyard, caught in the crosshairs of an intergalactic conflict. "We need to find you help," he said firmly, feeling a surge of responsibility. "You can stay here for now." Zara's expression softened, and she nodded subtly, the light in her eyes flickering with gratitude. In that moment, an unspoken bond formed between them, something neither could explain nor resist. The weight of their connection grew, pulsing in the air around them, rich with potential. As dusk began to settle in, Daniel felt an overwhelming sense of adventure bubbling inside him, mixed with the thrill of the unknown. "Let's get you settled before we figure things out." He led Zara into his simple home, helping her through the door and into a space that felt both safe and ordinary. The walls were adorned with posters and various trinkets, remnants of his life as an enthusiast for the peculiar and unexplained. He quickly grabbed an extra blanket and pillows, offering them to her. "What do you—" he started, but she raised a hand, her expression solemn. Zara focused, her fingers forming intricate patterns in the air, and a soft hum filled the room, enveloping them in warmth. As she began to translate her thoughts, Daniel sensed her yearning to understand more, to learn about his world. "Show me," Daniel said, feeling his excitement rise again. "Let's start with your name." Zara smiled softly, her features glowing softly in the dim light. For the first time, he saw the playful spirit beneath her mysterious exterior. He guided her through simple gestures, basic words, and feelings, and she mirrored his enthusiasm, learning quickly. In that moment, Daniel knew that a profound journey was about to unfold, one that would change not only his life, but perhaps the fate of two worlds. As night enveloped the world outside, Daniel and Zara settled into a comfortable routine in his modest home. The flickering glow of a lamp illuminated their space, casting soft shadows on the walls as they huddled around a small table covered in papers and markers. They were about to embark on a journey of understanding each other, language barriers be damned. "Okay, let's start with the basics," Daniel said, his enthusiasm palpable as he pushed a fresh sheet of paper toward Zara. He picked up a marker and wrote out "human" in confident letters. Zara stared at the word, her eyes narrowing slightly as she absorbed its meaning. She traced over the letters with her finger, a small spark of light dancing from her touch, infusing the letters with a shimmering glow. Daniel watched in awe as she brought the letters to life, unable to suppress a smile. "Can you write your name?" he asked, eager to see her unique script. He handed her the marker, and with a delicate touch, she began to write. Her letters flowed like liquid silver across the page, forming a beautiful symbol that pulsed brightly, revealing her name, Zara. "Zara," he repeated, letting the name roll off his tongue. Saying it felt natural, and he could sense the warmth in her expression as she nodded in approval. The hours passed as they continued to play this game of discovery, exchanging rudimentary words and concepts. Daniel taught her simple phrases, and Zara responded by showing him the emotional depth of her expressions, often using gestures that spoke volumes more than mere words. They laughed together, the initial awkwardness giving way to a genuine connection. In the process, Zara began to teach Daniel about her culture. The images she conjured from the capsule grew more elaborate, revealing tantalizing glimpses into the vibrancy of her world. Floating gardens, intricate rituals involving music and dance, and deep connections between the beings of her planet unfolded before him. Daniel was captivated, not just by the visuals, but the essence of her storytelling. He learned that her people valued connection and emotional honesty above all else. The deeper Zara spoke about her home, the more he felt a profound longing in his heart, the yearning for something beyond the ordinary. "Do you miss it?" he asked softly, sensing her emotions shift as she recalled her planet. Zara hesitated, a flicker of pain crossing her face. She nodded, a single tear glistening as it slid down her cheek. "Home," she whispered in a tone filled with loss. The bond they shared deepened as he offered her a comforting smile. This girl, who had stumbled into his life, was a bridge between worlds, a connection he had never anticipated. "Hey, I'll help you find a way back," Daniel reassured her, determined to lift her spirits. "No matter what it takes." Zara's eyes brightened at his words, and she leaned forward, placing her hand over his, the warmth of her skin radiating a comforting glow. "Together," she replied, her voice a harmonious blend of sincerity and hope. As the evening wore on, they ventured into deeper topics. Daniel revealed snippets of his own life, his solitary childhood, his dreams of adventure, and the sense of isolation he felt in the normalcy of his surroundings. Zara listened intently, her eyes capturing his every word, the connection between them expanding. In turn, Zara shared stories of her people, their customs, and the art of embracing emotions. She demonstrated how her kind expressed affection, not just through words, but through physical connection and shared experiences. "But how do you express it without being physically close?" Daniel asked, intrigued. With a playful smile, Zara summoned her glowing energy once more, weaving intricate patterns in the air, symbols of connection that twirled and glided through the space between them. "Our energies intertwine," she explained. "It's a form of communication and emotional dance." Daniel was entranced, watching as vibrant colors formed and blended, a visual representation of what she was saying. "That's beautiful," he murmured, captivated by the spark of connection igniting between them. "Can you dance?" Zara suddenly asked, a mischievous glint in her eyes as she stood, her movements fluid and graceful. "Dance," Daniel echoed, chuckling. "Not really. I mean, I have 2 left feet." But Zara wasn't deterred. "Show me," she insisted, her excitement palpable as she swept her arms wide, urging him to join her. Daniel laughed, feeling a surge of courage. "Okay, but you might regret this." As music played softly from a nearby radio, Daniel awkwardly attempted to follow her lead. At first, he stumbled over his own feet, but Zara's laughter was infectious. She moved closer, guiding him with gentle hands, their energies intertwining in ways he couldn't understand fully yet. Quickly, he found himself losing the shackles of his shyness, mimicking her movements and allowing the rhythm to take him over. Zara twirled and swayed with an ethereal grace, illuminating the room with her light, and Daniel felt a growing urge to embrace this unfamiliar form of expression. As they danced, the air became charged with emotion. Zara slowly guided him to face her directly, and he felt the warmth of her energy envelop him. Their movements synced as they twirled through the small space, laughter bouncing off the walls, filling the home with joy. In that exhilarating moment, time seemed to slip away. Daniel felt an overwhelming closeness to Zara, a connection that transcended the physical barriers between them. The dance became a playful exchange of emotion, a celebration of their bond that deepened with each passing moment. And for the first time in a long time, Daniel felt alive, as if the mundane was washed away by the beauty of this alien girl and the promise of adventure that lay ahead. But amid the laughter, he couldn't shake a nagging feeling that danger was looming, and their time together might not last forever. Daniel remained low behind the garden shed, his heart pounding as he watched the shadowy figure linger around his house. The creeping fear threatened to waver his resolve, reminding him that Zara's safety rested on his shoulders. In that moment of uncertainty, he thought of her, the vibrant force who had turned his mundane life upside down, drawing him into a world far beyond his imagination. Zara was more than an alien girl. She was a force of nature, a being of light and emotion. The thought of losing her ignited a fierce protectiveness within him. "Stay hidden," he whispered into their connection, hoping she could hear him, sensing her energy respond with a gentle tremor of understanding. "I'll find out who that is." The figure prowled around the yard, his instincts screaming that this was not a coincidence. Daniel took a deep breath, feeling the connection spark between him and Zara. It was more than just emotional. There was an element of magnetism, a bond that resonated on deeper levels, a bond that may soon be intertwined in a more intimate way. As he crept back toward the house, he contemplated the conversations they had shared about her culture. Zara had hinted at the importance of mating in her society, a ritual not simply of physical connection but one deeply rooted in emotion, energy, and their very beings. And while he grasped the basic understanding, the gravity of that bond, the intricacies of their mating rituals filled his thoughts. This was no ordinary union. It symbolized a merging of their souls, a commitment that transcended the physical realm. What would it mean for them? "Daniel," Zara's voice broke through his thoughts, soft yet urgent as if she sensed his spiraling concerns. "Do you feel it? The pull?" He nodded slightly, a shiver racing down his spine as he considered her words. "I do. Mating is a bond between our energies. It's a merging of our beings," she had explained earlier, her expression wistful, illuminated in the mesmerizing glow of her skin. "It will strengthen our connection." The thought had sparked a combination of excitement and apprehension within him. He'd never imagined that a simple act, primal in nature, would become something sacred between them. Yet now, faced with the reality of danger and uncertainty, he felt that connection pull harder than ever, a vine of intimacy intertwining with urgency. "Your energy is drawing me in, Daniel." Zara's voice sounded again, this time tinged with a longing that echoed his own feelings. "A bond between us could be our salvation, linking us in strength against the darkness that threatens." His heart raced as he considered Zara's words. "You mean mating?" he asked, the term foreign yet familiar on his tongue. "Yes," she nearly whispered, her eyes shining with something like wonder and desperation. But it must be a decision made freely, a joining of our souls, in trust and in passion. Daniel's breath quickened, his mind racing. He understood that bonding with Zara would not merely be physical. It would be a profound merging of their spirits, an act that would utterly reshape their connection. Before he could respond, the figure outside moved closer to the door. Daniel's instincts kicked back in, and he felt the urgency of the moment pulse through him, drowning out every other thought. "I'll protect you first," he said resolutely, squeezing the warmth of their connection tighter. Zara nodded, her eyes steely with determination as she focused on her own energies, ready to shield them both. The figure was now at the door, testing the handle with menacing intent. Daniel's heart raced, adrenaline spiking as he prepared himself for confrontation. Suddenly, the figure's voice broke through the air, low and commanding. "Zara, we know you're in there. Come out now, and no harm will befall your human friend." A wave of dread rolled through Daniel as he recognized the voice. It belonged to a member of Zara's people, a hostile entity that had once cast a shadow over the beautiful landscapes of her home world. "Daniel, they are here," Zara whispered urgently, her energy flickering like a candle in the wind. "We must act quickly." Daniel steadied himself, feeling the powerful bond of energies that surged between them, the very foundation of their connection. It whispered of possibilities, of merging and mating, of visceral intertwining that granted strength in the face of adversity. "I won't let them take you," he declared, his resolve hardening. "If we need to mate to protect you, then that's what we'll do. I'm all in, Zara." Zara's expression softened, touched by his commitment. "It would mean pulling on the very essence of our beings, binding us on levels unimagined," she broke off, her thoughts drifting into a fragile silence. "What else do we have?" Daniel urged, his heart pounding in unity with her energy. "They're coming for you, and I feel that our connection could give us the power we need right now." Our bond, he realized, could also protect her. It was a bond they could forge even in the face of danger. Zara's eyes glinted with a mixture of fear and desire, and Daniel felt the pull between them intensify, a silent affirmation of their shared intentions. "Then we will create our binding," she whispered, her resolve igniting alongside his. "But we must do it quickly, and in the moment of urgency, with all that we have." Before they could prepare any further, the door rattled violently. Time seemed to slow as Daniel could feel his heart thundering, the energies around them surging in anticipation. "Now," Zara commanded, and together they focused, extending their energy towards each other and merging their auras. It felt like a warm embrace, encircling them as the room glowed with their connectively sheer intensity. In that moment of vulnerability and raw emotion, Daniel realized they were tethered by more than just circumstance. They were powerful forces intersecting in a world defined by the unknown, preparing to take on anything that threatened their newfound bond, even the dangers lurking just beyond the door. The door burst open, but Daniel was ready for whatever came next. As the door swung open with a forceful crash, Daniel felt the vibration ripple through the floor beneath him. For a fleeting moment, the world around him seemed to stand still, the air electric with tension. The shadowy figure from outside stepped into the threshold, their features sharp and menacing, silhouetted against the morning light. Zara stood beside Daniel, her energy intertwining with his, wrapping them both in a shroud of vibrant light. The glow softened their surroundings, casting away the shadows and fortifying them against the intruder who had come to claim her. "Zara," the figure boomed, voice booming with authority. "You are a fugitive. You must return with us now." The rush of panic threatened to engulf Daniel, but he focused on Zara, her presence grounding him, reminding him of their bond and the strength they shared. "Stand firm," he whispered, meeting her gaze with determination. "Who are you to demand my return?" she replied, her voice steady, infused with an innate power that sent a shudder through the figure. She took a step forward, the light around her flickering with intensity. "I will not go back without understanding what danger lies there for me and my people." The figure hesitated, momentarily faltering at the strength of her conviction. You must understand, they countered, the edge of menace colored by underlying hesitation. Your departure threatens the very fabric of our society. The danger you seek to avoid has only grown. Daniel could see Zara tensing, a flicker of worry flashing across her face as she grappled with the implications of the figure's words. And what about Daniel? She shot back, motioning toward him. His life is intertwined with mine now. I cannot abandon him. The figure stepped further inside, the door swinging precariously on its hinges. What have you done? They demanded, eyes narrowing as they scrutinized the glow surrounding them. He doesn't understand the consequences. You've created an unbreakable bond that may place you both in greater peril. Daniel felt adrenaline course through him, ignited by the threat hovering in the air. And what if I do understand? He stepped forward, the light from his connection with Zara refracting off him, a barrier against the uncertainty. I will protect her, whatever it takes. A tense silence fell between them, charged with unspoken words and trembling emotions. The figure surveyed him, searching for weakness, and Daniel could feel the raw energy surrounding him and Zara, blazing brighter with his resolve. You do not know the burden that comes when two beings from different worlds mate. The figure's voice softened into a warning. Zara moved closer to Daniel, the warmth of her energy wrapping around them like a cocoon. We are willing to take that risk, she asserted, standing tall against the palpable uncertainty. The mating will tie your minds, your emotions, and your very essence in ways you cannot foresee, the figure retorted. If you fail, you risk destruction. Daniel's heart hammered fiercely against his ribcage, but he held his ground, looking deep into Zara's eyes, feeling the magnetic pull of their bond. Then let us decide our fate, he said, his voice unwavering. You don't understand. Zara is more than just an alien. She is everything to me. Zara's expression softened, a flicker of tenderness illuminating her features amidst the tension. Together, we are stronger, Daniel, she spoke, her voice a melodic promise. Her words echoed in the air, resonating with the light that pulsed around them, strength forged in vulnerability, each pulse representing their shared emotions and intentions. The figure paused, uncertainty etched across their face for the first time. If you choose this path, you must be prepared for the consequences. You cannot turn back. Daniel felt resolve solidify within him, an unwavering sense of purpose. What does that mean for us? He asked, desperate for clarity in the storm. Your connection will grant you strength, but it will also expose you to each other's greatest fears, desires, and vulnerabilities, they warned, looking between him and Zara. When the bond is forged, it may not only elevate you, but also unravel you in ways you cannot comprehend. Daniel could feel Zara's energy merge with his in a comforting embrace, a soothing presence against the chaos surrounding them. We will face it together, he said loudly, conviction rising in his throat. As the words left his mouth, the atmosphere shifted, pulsing with an electricity that resonated between them. The figure shifted uncomfortably, but pressed on, looking desperately for an opening. You must know the risks involved if you undertake the mating, they reiterated. Beyond what you see lies realms of emotion and energy that could swallow you whole. Zara's expression hardened, determination rushing to the forefront. I am not afraid of what lies ahead, not when I have found someone worth fighting for. Something magnetic passed between Daniel and Zara, forcing hearts and minds to align. In that moment, he felt the gravity of her emotion, her yearning for connection, her vulnerability, and her willingness to connect deeply despite the danger. Then we are all in on this decision, Daniel affirmed, holding Zara's gaze unwaveringly. Together, we face any threat that may come. The figure took a step back, conflict dancing across their features. If you are set on this path, then so be it. Know that your bond will resonate through the universe, creating ripples that others will feel. And a union such as yours may draw attention from forces beyond merely the ones you face now. With those words hanging in the air like an ominous cloud, the figure hesitated again, their presence demanding but conflicted. They scoured Daniel with keen eyes, a challenge, and perhaps a reluctant admiration shining through. Create your bond. They finally relented. But understand that every action has consequences. The story of your love will venture far beyond these confines, and, with it, a series of trials we cannot yet foresee. As the figure stepped back, withdrawing from the threshold, Daniel remained rooted in place. The tension in the room began to fade, but uncertainty lingered as they braced themselves for what lay ahead. "Are you ready?" Zara whispered, her voice soft yet steady. Daniel glanced at her, his heart filled with an immense sense of possibility and trepidation. "I am," he replied, feeling the stirrings of their bond influence his every thought. With a shared understanding, they stepped toward each other, the air humming with anticipation, the promise of a connection waiting to blossom. In that moment, they held the weight of the universe between them, knowing that whatever path they chose next would unavoidably tie their fates together forever. As the figure retreated into the shadows, Daniel felt a rush of tension and excitement. The time had come to decide whether to embrace their bond fully. "Are you sure about this?" he asked Zara, searching her eyes for confirmation. She nodded, stepping closer. "This bond symbolizes our commitment. We must synchronize our energies." Daniel's heart raced. "What should I do?" "Let's create a space where we can focus on our connection," she guided, leading him to arrange cushions in the living room, establishing a serene atmosphere. "Now close your eyes and breathe deeply," Zara instructed, intertwining her fingers with his. "Focus on our energies." Daniel felt the warmth radiate as they truly connected. He opened his heart to Zara, sharing glimpses of his past, the isolation, the longing for adventure, while she enveloped him in her essence, allowing him to feel her joy and sorrow. As their energies swirled together, he soon realized they were merging not only emotionally but physically as well. Feeling the urge to release the tension building between them, Daniel leaned in. Their lips met tentatively, but the kiss deepened, igniting a fierce desire that washed away his fears. They melted into each other, their energies glowing brightly as their bodies intertwined, a powerful union that drew them closer in every sense. In that moment, they weren't just two beings, they were one, bound by love, passion, and the promise of facing whatever darkness lay ahead together. As the violent knocks echoed through the house, Daniel felt an adrenaline surge through him. The authoritative voice outside demanded Zara's return, and every instinct screamed to protect her. "Stay close," Zara whispered, her presence radiating strength beside him. "We can face this together." With the shimmering barrier around them, Daniel felt a calming pulse of energy. "I won't let them take you," he vowed, determination burning in his heart. The door rattled violently again, before cracking open just enough for the figure to glimpse inside. "Let her go," they shouted, their voice edged with urgency. "This is your last chance." "Who are you?" Daniel shouted back, stepping forward. "What do you want with her?" "She is needed back home to avert the impending catastrophe," the figure replied, frustration lacing their tone. "You cannot comprehend the weight of her actions in this realm. Our people depend on her." Zara's eyes flickered with uncertainty, but also courage. "I am not a pawn to be used. I will choose my own fate." Daniel felt the weight of her defiance and resolutely stood by her side. "We are bonded now. I will not allow anyone to dictate her path." As the figure stepped fully into the room, Daniel noticed the tension radiating from their energy, a potent mixture of authority and desperation. "You must understand. Your bond has consequences that extend far beyond this moment. There are forces at play that will come for both of you." "Let them come," Zara countered, voice steady. "Together, we'll face whatever challenges arise. Our connection has already proven to be powerful." In that moment, the energy in the room surged, colors swirling around them, until Daniel could almost see the threads binding their destinies together, pulsating with the promise of light and protection against the encroaching shadows. The figures shifted, the uncertainty in their expression revealing the struggle within. "You truly believe you can protect each other against that which hunts you?" Daniel locked eyes with Zara, feeling their strength pulse between them. We will do so together, with or without your approval." Tension hung in the air as the figure fell quiet, evaluating them closely. Finally, they seemed to relent with a deep sigh. "If this is your choice, be prepared for the storm. We will give you time, and may the strength of your bond protect you both." With that cryptic warning, the figure stepped back, vanishing into the outside world, leaving Daniel and Zara enveloped in their own bubble of energy. As the silence settled, Zara turned to him, her gaze filled with pride and resolve. "We've passed the first trial together, but this is only the beginning." "I know," Daniel replied, still feeling the adrenaline coursing through him. "But we can carry on. We have each other." United by the merging of souls, Daniel and Zara prepared to confront whatever challenges lay beyond their door, fortified by a bond that went beyond mere romance. It was an intertwining of destinies. Days turned into weeks as they adjusted to the presence of each other in their lives. They harnessed their energies, growing stronger collectively, learning to amplify the protective barriers that surrounded them. Yet shadows still loomed, the threat of outside forces ever present. It was during an evening of quiet reflection when the sky darkened abruptly, heavy storm clouds gathering ominously above. "Daniel," Zara said slowly, her voice steady yet laced with urgency. "I can feel them. They're coming." He took her hand, the warmth of their bond igniting the courage within him. "Then let's show them what we're made of." With their barrier fortified, Daniel and Zara prepared for the oncoming confrontation. As the storm broke, winds howled around the house, and thunder rumbled ominously. Suddenly, the shadows emerged. Figures cloaked in darkness approached, forceful yet shrouded in mystery. Daniel's heart raced, but Zara stood firmly at his side, energy surging between them like a shield. "Come to reclaim what is ours," one of the figures shouted, a commanding presence resonating through the tempest. Zara took a step forward, her face set with resolve. "You will have to go through us," she called out, their glowing energy illuminating the space around them. The figures advanced but were suddenly halted as the protective barrier flared with intensity. In that moment, Daniel and Zara focused their energies, merging their light into one brilliant force. With a resounding pulse, the barrier expanded outward, pushing back against the encroaching darkness. An ethereal light bathed the front yard, and Daniel felt the strength of their bond surging through him. "Together!" Zara shouted, and Daniel echoed her, unleashing a torrent of energy that erupted toward the approaching figures. The clash was electric, a magnificent display of light against darkness, their combined energies illuminating the stormy night. As the two forces collided, Daniel saw the figures falter, their shadows retreating before the power of their bond. "You may have escaped today," one figure yelled, frustration bleeding through their voice. "But we will return." As the last remnants of darkness melted away, Daniel and Zara remained standing, breathing heavily yet exhilarated. They had faced their first true test and emerged victorious, their connection solidified and bolder than ever. "Did we really do that?" Daniel said, heart racing with disbelief. Zara turned to him, her eyes sparkling with pride. "Yes, Daniel. Together, we are unstoppable. Our bond has granted us strength beyond measure." As the storm subsided and stars began to shine through the dissipating clouds, Daniel realized they had embarked on a journey that would transcend worlds, one of love, protection, and fearlessness. In the weeks that followed, Daniel and Zara worked together to strengthen their bond even further, embracing their destinies. They turned their home into a sanctuary, a place where they celebrated their connection, while also preparing for what the universe might throw their way. And as their love deepened, the echoes of their merging resonated throughout the cosmos, a testament to the power of two beings embracing their differences to stand against the forces that sought to tear them apart. No matter the challenges ahead, they knew one thing for certain: they would face them together, united.